Okay. Okay. Well, you know what? Let's officially start, and we'll include the blog stuff in our official start. But just welcome everyone. It's just so nice to see so many people with us, and I think more people will keep joining, and that's wonderful. Let me just quickly say what our program's going to be. And sorry. Oh, okay. Sorry, someone was trying to call on the work phone, which could mean that was Judy trying to figure out the sound. So maybe while Lanee is giving his presentation, I'll call that person back and we'll see how that goes. But for our topics today, Lanee and Billy are going to share a slideshow of their Vermont trips. And they are, before they get into that though, they are going to share a little bit about this current trip that they're on and what they found as far as just traveling in general, and you know, the conditions and the like number of people wearing masks or just sort of whatever they've run into. And so before they take that away, if we have time from all that, I will share my family favorite cookie recipe. And I actually get to take some credit for that it was many years in the making. It evolved, and our son and his friends were the taste testers. So they're pretty good.
Kathleen, if you would you introduce Rachel?
Well, that was my next thing. I was going to say, I don't know where she is on your screen, but yeah, wave like that. And so this is Rachel, and she is our new social media person and graphic designer person. So she's going to be putting the Billy's pictures on our blog. And she and Kaylee figured out together how to put the video on. So we've been making videos of these shows. We just hadn't figured out how to put them on the blog, and they figured it out. So if you don't, but there still will be all the slides as well, but sometimes there's more narrative than what was just on the slide. So we are really glad to have Rachel working with us, and she's actually in St. Louis, and fortunately it's okay. So Rachel, these are just some of the nicest people you will ever meet. They're in the club and on the screen. So
I'm excited to be here. Thank you guys.
Great. And actually, Rachel also does the Facebook posts, and we'll be answering questions because sometimes people write in questions, and Facebook intimidates me to no end. And so I am so grateful that I can just text Rachel something and then it will appear. So we appreciate you being on board. So I guess the other thing before Lanee and Billy get started is that last week we did have the infection prevention specialist do the slideshow, and so we do have the whole video of, well, I started 3 slides late, but those slides are in the, you can scroll through all of her slides, and they have the live links. That she had a couple of slides that had links where you could do some, if you wanted to see the trends of cases and things in different states, you just click on the link and a map comes up, and you just move your cursor over the maps. And her example was, if you want to go to the Rocky Mountains, you know, you have an option of, you could go to Utah or Wyoming, and you could see what the trending cases are for COVID. So and make up your mind. So and it's like that for the whole country. So are there any questions? I think the beginning right now when Lanee and Billy are talking about their trip, if people have questions, the chat seems to work pretty well. And then I can just sort of it's almost easier if I interrupt than everybody trying to interrupt. And so we can do questions as he's talking. And then if not, we'll finish them up before he gets into Vermont. So, so Charlene has a question. There you are. Oh, unmute yourself. Oh, okay. Oh, well, sorry. Here's one from Dorothy Johnson. Will Rachel tell us how to find the blog? Is your first thing, Rachel?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you can find the blog. Well, there's a couple ways you can get there. You can get there through some of our Facebook posts have links to the individual blog posts. So if you log into Facebook and look at the Evergreen Club page and browse through some of the posts that describe our blogs, there will be links to those specific posts. You can also go to the Evergreen Club website and you should see it's sort of a smaller navigation near the top right, and there will be a link to a blog. I think it's like the second link from the left or something to that effect.
Yeah, and you just scroll down until you find all the blogs are there, even the instructions for putting the icon on your phone homepage, so that you can, just as a reminder, you can use our website without the internet. It uses the phone signal. And so if you need to look up something, you can use the directory and the map, and you can even read the blog from your phone. So, thanks, Rachel. Okay, let me check. I need to get better at checking the chats. Okay, well, I think maybe if everybody put their screens on speaker view, maybe Lanee and Billy would get bigger. Or does everybody like seeing little pictures of everyone? That is kind of fun.
I'd recommend speaker view, everybody.
Do you know how to do that? I should ask.
Upper right-hand corner, click on speaker view. It'll have gallery view or speaker view. Pick speaker view.
Okay. So we have not made Lanee and Billy co-hosts yet to share your screen, because for right now, you're just going to talk about your trip. And you left Texas, and what was it like? Did you have the roads to yourself?
No. Matter of fact, the number one is there's lots of trucks on the road, and we've spent a lot of time on the interstate instead of running the back road country. And so on the interstate, Lanee and I the other day, we said, that's got to be 100 trucks. We counted 100 trucks in 4 minutes. And
oh my gosh.
I mean, that is just truck after truck after truck. And it's almost like one long convoy. And we were amazed by that.
Are they all Amazon?
No, when we went by Amazon Prime warehouse, they were stacked up about 100 deep trying to unload. And lots of people's taking advantage of Amazon. And we, for the most part, whatever the posted speed limit is, that must be a suggestion, because we almost get run over constantly. And most of the roads that we've been on after we left Texas are 70, and if we don't run 75, it's just like you're asking to get hit. So anyway, we hadn't been stopped, so that's good.
Well, you probably don't have a problem going 75, Billy.
No, that's me.
Oh, that's you.
That's me. Yeah, he gets an audio book going and he gets behind a truck and he just slows down. It's whatever they're going. I'm just going, pull over, let me drive. This is driving me crazy. We worried that we would have trouble finding places. So we did most of ours back to back to back timeshare. We even did a relative that we stayed with at south of Dallas before going on to Hot Springs. We had to have a hotel in Nashville, could not find a travel club member there. Was able to get hold of 2 that got back to us. One, they already had someone there, family, and the other one was going to be traveling. We've tried in Asheville, North Carolina, coming backwards. Couldn't find anybody there. There's somebody there that's, and I don't know, I think they're part-time Airbnb and part-time travel club members, but the travel is like November to April. And she said they had been swamped, that everybody must be getting out of the cities and going to the mountains. We have one more hotel in Nashville going home. But everything else has been Airbnb. We didn't have a whole lot of luck.
Okay, and was it mainly concern for their health?
They didn't say that. They just said, "Oh, we've already got other plans." So I don't know whether they didn't want to say, "Hey, we're not ready." And we left it open. We were very flexible. We were, let us know how you feel. And
as far as traveling, you'd asked to mention, but it's like half the people believe in wearing masks and half the people don't believe in wearing masks. We have been in many posted stores that says mask required, that Lanee and I and maybe a half dozen others are the people wearing masks, and the rest of them don't have masks on. And we found that interesting, but I think as time goes on, I know we're not as diligent as we used to be. I'd walk up to a gas pump and I'd wipe the whole thing down, wipe the handles down, and now I just grab it and pump gas. I don't even think about it.
And sometimes we remember to, use the hand sanitizer when we get back in the car, and sometimes we don't remember. Yeah. So I'm sure everybody's kind of the same way we are. But
gasoline is an antiseptic.
Okay. We are good about wearing our mask in.
Okay.
But we were amazed by how many didn't wear them. And Puxatawny was the worst, I think, because when we went in there, we were one of very few. I felt
very self-conscious because I think we were the only 2 had masks on. So you're in a line with 8 or 9 people and nobody wearing masks.
Well, I wonder I know here in Texas that if your county doesn't have any cases, I don't think the mask thing is required.
That's true. That's true. Because the county next to us, they don't have to. They're at home.
Yeah. So maybe Puxatawny.
It was interesting, but all the stores have face masks required.
Yeah, they did have signs on the door.
Okay.
And they promptly ignored them.
Okay. Well, here, let me check.
Were they 6 feet apart? No. How eating out's been?
We've done
the one that bugs me is we like certain things when we go into particular places, like Chewy's. We have specific things we like off the menu. They're not serving any of those right now.
It's a limited menu.
And so we've run into that at a lot of places where the things we like to eat aren't on the menu yet.
And we've done a lot of cooking. Since we were staying at my daughter's, we went out to eat once, I think. We ate out last night because it was traveling. We didn't get here till nearly 10 o'clock. And they actually stopped at 8 and we grabbed something in the car and went on.
Okay.
But our kids, our daughter and her family are traveling. They homeschool anyway, so they decided to take off and go with us.
Oh, how nice.
We went to Walmart today, and their 6 feet's a whole lot less than our 6 feet.
I want to tell the guy behind us to back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Just keep your basket between people.
You know, Jo Ellen mentioned, she said that I noticed yesterday at our Walmart that it's now allowing access at both doors and directional floor signs are gone, but they still have to wear the masks.
Yeah.
And let's see, Jo Ellen, where are you? Where do you live? In, oh, New York. No, I can't. You ran out of space. Can you unmute yourself?
I'm in Yakult, Washington, which is near Vancouver, which is near Portland, Oregon.
That's right. Okay. Thank you. Well, that's interesting. Our Walmart had people standing at the doors, like you could only enter on one side. Walmart's not my favorite store. And so, because, I mean, it just isn't, but I wonder if ours has changed that policy too. I'll send Jack.
Today, there was only one door open. The Walmart we were in today only had one door open.
Okay.
The strictest state we were in, it seemed to be Kentucky.
Really?
I don't know why.
Now, our Walmart on the auto section allows you to come in and do auto business, because usually it's on the backside. But I went into one and all I was needing was engine oil, and she said, no, you got to go through the front door. Can't come in here. And I said, well, I'll just go to O'Reilly's and get it. I don't need to walk that bad.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Here's another question. Oh, great. Judy got her audio going. Okay, wonderful. Okay, well, I think we are ready to start the regular program and the slideshow. So you're gonna, let's see, I have to make them a co-host. So Jack, I think I take you off. And let me see if I can make them one. I had trouble doing that last time. Okay, make a co-host. I'm sorry? Okay, so you guys are co-hosts, and so is Jack, and so am I. So you guys should be able to screen share.
So let's go down here. Go here.
There you go.
Can you see the full screen?
Sure can.
All right. And can you see the mouse move?
Yes.
All right. Well, Vermont, Lanee and I have been to that state 3 different times, and we're going to start by coming in down here at the bottom of the state out of New York. Massachusetts is right here, and we're going to work our way up and wind up here at the top, almost in Canada.
Okay.
So as we come in out of the state of New York, one of the things that we do when we go to Bennington is we look for the moose that can't seem to put its brakes on very well. And it's got a head sticking through the glass into the pottery shop. And it's a neat place to visit, and especially if you love pottery. Lanee loves this blue stuff.
That blue and green, it's beautiful, beautiful pottery there. And I always go by there and pick up something new to go with my collection.
And we can spend a good portion of time there. We make our way over here. We're just going to zigzag up the state Putney is a interesting one because it's one of the major marketers of baskets in the United States. And so if you go in, you just see baskets everywhere. And Lanee made fun of me because I was too busy looking around at the tractor seats that are stuck to the ceiling, and they got hundreds of tractor seats, and I just found that amazing that they had that quality and quantity of tractor seats. And she goes, "Didn't you see the baskets?" And I was like, "What baskets?" And they were everywhere.
We see different things when we travel.
Then as we got up to Weston, we travel around. If you think we go to a lot of stores, that's true. This particular store, Weston has the Vermont Country Store. They also have a sawmill there that's very nice. And they also have Vermont Tin Works, all of them worth visiting.
The Vermont Country Store, a lot of you may realize these magazines. I don't see the magazines as much, but I'm sure they do, because a lot of it's now gone to online. But years ago, they would send out these catalogs, and you would see modern stuff, but you would see a lot of old stuff. And this is where the store originated. It still is in operation. And I think they have a second store somewhere in Vermont. But you need a good hour or so in there just to look around and so forth. It's a really cool looking store, an old general type store.
And this is just one of many places in Vermont you can buy maple syrup. And we'll hit on Bragg's later, and it's another one. But the Vermont Country Store certainly is one that you'll spend some time in. And they do a lot of business online now. And so if you like their store and like what you saw, you can certainly get online and get it that way. The sawmill, it's very picturesque there, and it's sharp looking. I really enjoy the time that we're there. The tin shop, I mean, just a little bit of everything. We bought icicles.
Little metal icicles to hang on our Christmas tree. Just a little thin. You got to be careful. You can cut yourself, but they really are. They're so much easier to put on and take off the tree. But he just does a really nice job.
And they make cookie cutters and all sorts of tin objects, and so very, very nice store to visit and look around in. And then we go up to Keechee.
I think so.
We'll call it that. And they have a covered bridge, and they have a gorge there, and also Simon Pierce is there. And that is almost a new bridge. I mean, it is some of the newer ones that I've seen. And you can, in the fall of the year, get a pretty nice picture if you're trying to capture one. And they have the gorge is there close. And, you know, if you're afraid of heights, you might not want to cross that bridge, but it's a nice place to go walk about if you want to do that. And Simon Pierce is one that they do glass, and you can go down in the basement. You're invited to go down and watch them work through the whole process of making glass. I just found it absolutely fascinating to see how they is blowing it and shaping it and preparing it. And then Lanee liked the showroom where she could go buy glass, and it's just some gorgeous pieces of work there. And the showroom is really nice. Then as we go up to Woodstock, it just makes a point. There are just numerous little towns all over Vermont, just where you want to go shop. And for a wife that likes to shop, it just really is a way to stretch out a vacation, because she really likes to look around these little towns.
A lot of times I don't buy anything, but it's really so neat to just go in. Nice little restaurants. If you catch it just right, different times of the year, they'll have something going down on their going on at their little courthouse squares and so forth. A lot of that's been canceled for this year. We're seeing that through here even. But they're just beautiful little town. It's just fun to get out and walk around and mix in with the people and visit.
Well, it does look like there are a fair number of people.
Yep.
Yes.
And then they do have covered bridges, and I have 2 or 3 in the slide set, and some of them definitely got some nice pictures you can shoot from the bridge, and I certainly try to take advantage of that. For those of you that's familiar with King Arthur Flour, they've been around a long time. They're just outside of Norwich, and they've been marketing flour ever since 1790. And this is a nice new building, and it's worth the time to go. This area here is a big shopping area with their products. Over here is their cafeteria, and they make some great sandwiches. Over here is the school. So if you want to sign up for a course on baking with their products, they offer that all at that facility, and you're there in just beautiful Vermont country looking at that.
If you're a serious baker, check into it on their website. You have to book some of these classes in advance, but if that's something you want to do and your spouse wants to go off and do something else that day, they can drop you off, come back, pick you up later. But it's a really nice stop.
Can you go back a slide and let me just so we can see the.
They've changed the label just a little bit. I can't remember what the new label is called, but they have all kinds of baking items. They've also gone lots and lots of gluten-free type products. We picked up and ordered some stuff at times for our daughter.
And what's it called again?
Go back one more. King Arthur. You'll probably see some of their products in some of your grocery stores, but there's so many more products that you have no idea what all they have. They have stuff. We have friends that order from there for pizza. He has a big pizza oven out in his backyard, so he orders all the stuff, the special stuff you use to mix in your pizza dough. His yeast from there, his pizza flour, the different types of flour that you use for pizza. There's another item that you can use in your baked goods to make your baked goods last a few extra days longer. They have all kinds of stuff. It's unbelievable.
Lots of specialty flours. And then I had to show this because I was offended that they call this little old bitty waterfall Texas waterfall. Now, what's the deal? And anyway, I had to take a picture of it because it indeed was Texas waterfall, but I could almost measured it with a yardstick. But oh well, it's more water than we have at Water Valley. Then this is the Pope Mill covered bridge over close to Middleborough. Two-way traffic. You just don't see that a whole lot like that on covered bridges. And it's definitely worth that. And if you just go out and walk down the side, down the road, you can get that picture just about any day of the week. It's just a nice flow of water underneath the bridge there. Then I put this one in because we used to have a travel club member lived at this little town, and she lived about 7 miles out of town. She lived right on Lake Champlain. I mean, just you could have thrown a rock from her back porch and hit the lake. And she was a great host. We were there one time while they was having a community fair, and we enjoyed our stay there. And she was hosting 3 different groups while we were there, and she didn't travel anymore, but she enjoyed hosting people. And so she just invited us and treated us nice, and that's just a look at the lake from her back porch. But she was pretty old when we stayed with her.
She was about 88, 89, and she was in the book about a year or so ago, but I noticed last time I looked, she's no longer in there.
And nice lady. Then the Warren Falls is another waterfall, not any bigger than the last one, but I like waterfalls. So when I go track one down, I'm going to take a picture of it, whether it's awe-inspiring, but it's water. And I love catching it in the fall and throwing in these covered bridges and catching those scenes. And the Rock of Ages Granite Quarry is one right before you get to the state capitol at Mount Pillar. And if you're there close to Bar, yeah, Mount Pillar, it has water coming off of these granite rocks. It gives a very, very distinct blue to the water. And that if you catch that on the right day, you can certainly get a great picture that's just very distinct and unique. And then the state capitol is one, just a beautiful capitol there. We happened to catch it one day while they were having a fair, and we enjoyed spending a little time with the people there too. Now we're getting up to the north part of the state, and this is one of the first stops is going down Highway 2 is we stopped at Bragg's Farm Sugar House. And we buy that syrup for friends, and what's really neat about it is they have a video show where you can learn about the making of maple syrup. I like fancy, and Lanee likes grade B. And fancy is something like you would put on ice cream, and
It's like Cairo syrup.
no, thin. And this one it definitely tastes very strong maple. And they show you like when they used to drill holes and hang a bucket and collect the sap out of the tree. And so many of them have switched over to these hoses now that goes to a collection house, and then they take them to the evaporators. But even the evaporators is you still, for the most part, have to have a lot of wood. And it's a good way to stay warm in the wintertime, or and burn off that water and get you some nice maple syrup. And I enjoy it. It's very, very tasty for sure. Like I said, stacked wood everywhere. And this is only part of the wood. You have to go past the picture to see the rest, but they go through a lot of it, and it just runs the gamut. But it falls into those 4 grades, and that's what's marketed.
They have several of these different maple houses all over the state. This just happens to be one. I took my mother many years ago, and I was telling Billy, I said, find you a maple syrup place. And of all the places he found the same one. That was weird.
If you drive on up Highway 2, you come to Cabot, and as you're going, look around at all these beautiful dairy farms. Small farms, not these mega dairies, and they work as a cooperative, and you can go to the visitor center and try out some of the cheeses there. And they have these Cabot tasting rooms all over Vermont, and it's a good place to go and take care of a slight hunger twitch in the afternoon. Just try out some cheese. You can watch them work the process, get it into the working product, and then you can see them actually make big old blocks of cheese or watch them make cubes of butter. But I love the tasting rooms and the varieties, and we don't get a whole lot of selections of Cabots there. We get a few through HEB, but not too many yet, but it's predominant up in the Vermont area. And so you can get what you want and enjoy it. And we bought several, and it stopped at the side of the road and had roadside picnics several days. My wife loves coffee, got to have it every morning, and Green Mountain Coffee is out of Watersbury. Yeah, Waterbury. And this is what the country looks like there. And you don't get to go through their great big roasting and distribution facility. This is just a picture I picked up off the web to show you they have a large facility there. But you can run down to the train station and grab you a cup of coffee. And it's very unique. And you can actually take the train out of this center headed down the rails.
It's a very cute, quaint place. I've actually seen some of their coffee. Sometimes you might see it at Walmart or some of your grocery stores. I've also seen it at Bed Bath & Beyond.
But mine is I come back off of 2, go over here and head to Stowe, and I don't get very far because Ben and Jerry's Ice Cream Factory, are you kidding me? I'm not going to pass that up. I may stop there 2 or 3 times on a trip just to get me a pint. And it's, I love their seasonal attempts with flavors. The last time I was there, they were serving grade B maple syrup with walnuts, and that was a tremendous ice cream. These little Ben and Jerry advertisement deals around the property, but don't forget to walk to the back of the property because they have the flavor graveyard back there. And this is like things like wavy gravy or peanuts and popcorn ice cream. And
Things that just didn't make it. Just for some reason, peanuts, popcorn, I don't, some of these that you don't know why they didn't make. Some you can figure it out.
but
But it's very cute.
Then just drive up the road, maybe another couple of miles, and there's the Cold Hollow Cider Mill. And they're famous for their cider donuts. And when you walk into the facility, turn to the left and watch them make you a cider donut. And once they get cool enough to eat, that's pretty good to stick in your mouth and enjoy, because that's hot cider donuts. But go to the back of the facility and they'll be chopping up apples and stacking them on these claws, and they stack up numerous layers of this and put it under a high pressure machine that puts lots of squeeze to that, and they squeeze out that apple juice, and they'll send the pulp out for livestock to finish off. But over on the side, they keep about 200 gallons of this cold, and you can go fill you a cup and enjoy that with your donut, and that's a mighty good combination. This is, I'll let you talk about.
This is also at Stowe. Is the Trapp Family Lodge from The Sound of Music, where they came over and started this hotel resort area. Lots of skiing up in this area. If you like to ski, there's still lots of hiking and stuff, but you definitely need to take a full day to just get away from all of that and go see some of this other stuff that Billy was going up there to do bridges and trees and so forth. I said, take one day just to go out, and I said, because you'll love it. I said, you've got the Ben and Jerry's, you've got the apple cider, you've got the Cabot cheese.
And the lodge.
And the lodge, yes.
And Burlington had the wood.
Burlington is a cute little town to go into, a little city area. It's right there also on the lake. Billy took it across one time, coming in from New York. You took the ferry in and came into Burlington many years ago, that you can do that rather than take the drive down and back up.
Yeah.
What's the next one? Is that the next? No,
And that's just Burlington. It has lots of beautiful little things to take pictures of in town, and as a nice day, and caught lots. This guy in the center, I just had to show it because I never saw anybody do this before. This is a table. He's balancing 4 chairs and he's juggling fire batons. I don't know if this guy's an adrenaline junkie or what, but that struck me as very very strange thing to do. But we did enjoy our time in Berlin.
This up here on the next corner where he's got the X, North Hero, we had stayed with a travel club member near Kilgore, Texas. And they said, if you're up there, go up there. It's right on the lake. Beautiful little area. And she recommended a sandwich shop up there. Yeah, there is.
Yep.
Heroes welcome.
And this is right next to the post office. You can get you a sandwich out of the store here and walk right across the street and eat it next to the lake. And,
just a pretty little sight.
And you are mighty close to Canada at that time. So I enjoy Vermont. We've got a few pictures to share as we catch the fall change of leaves there. And we certainly do enjoy the opportunity to capture these things and share them with y'all. We enjoy our white churches with strong contrast with the fall colors. And it's a great place to be in any season. I reckon you won't find me there in the winter because that's where I am in Texas, is to stay warm. But just to walk back in the country or to go along one of the lakes while the colors are changing, and it's just a beautiful place to be. And that's all we got for you. If you got any questions, we'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you.
Actually, there are quite a few questions. And one of them was, what time of the year were these pictures taken? Was that just now, or was that like a variety of trips?
It's 3 different trips, and usually to say that you're going to catch it into September, 1st of October is whatever Mother Nature has dealt with that season is when the leaves change, because we have had leaves change the middle of September, and we've had them go into the first week of October, maybe the second week of October, and before they get their full colors. And so there are numerous websites that will tell you where the color is right now, so if you're trying to time it appropriately.
Majority of what we've taken here has been from about the 10th of September up till the end of October. Usually by the 1st of October, we're out of there. We did have one time that we went back about the 12th or 13th. And surprisingly, there were still some there. We didn't think there would be.
Okay. Let's see, there is a comment from Jo Ellen. And she said, Billy really takes great pictures. Did he take lessons for how to frame them, or is he just naturally artistic?
My wife is actually artistic. I'm more, what I see is what I want to get. And so I'll shoot picture after picture after picture. And sometimes my wife isn't even around when I get through shooting a picture, and I'm having to call her on the phone to ask her where she went.
So you basically take a lot of pictures and then just find the ones that stand out the most to you.
We take a lot of pictures.
Isn't it nice they're digital?
Yes, film is cheap.
Yeah, that digital stuff's good.
You know, Sandra and Stan had several questions. So Sandra, if you want to unmute yourself so you can ask, and then I'll get to some of the other questions. See if Sandra's doing that. Well, maybe while she's working on that, there's, did you ever visit the museum? This is by Barbara Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Did you ever visit the museum in Bennington, as there are Grandma Moses paintings there?
We have not.
Glad that she gives us another reason to go back.
We'll have to go back.
It's
It's been a few years. It's been 3 or 4 years since we've been up there.
Yeah.
So Dorothy Johnson said that we planned an Appalachian trail trip for a week in Vermont, also a 2-week bike trip in Vermont, both during Vermont color time, but they never saw this kind of color. So she said, beware. So,
Oh, that's,
It's hit or miss. It's hit or miss.
yeah, one time Lanee and Christy, our daughter, was going to join me, and I had been up in Maine and I had gone through the color change. And so I met them in New York City, and I told them, I said, I'm sorry, you probably missed all the color change, but we'll enjoy Quebec City for what it offers up there. And when we got to Quebec City the first week of October, it looked just like
It was on
that.
fire.
It was unbelievable.
wow. Well, your pictures are stunning. Let's see, here's one from Stan. He said the Culinary Institute is in Montpelier. Fabulous chef-driven food, less costly in a few restaurants.
We didn't try that. Our plan is for next spring to do the one at Hyde Park in New York.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a gorgeous picture too. Let me go back. So, Sandra, I don't know why they can't unmute, but are you, oh, there you are. Unmute yourself. Hold down the space bar.
You're unmuted.
Oh, you muted again.
Okay, all right.
There you go.
Okay, I as a Quebecer, told to only.
Whoops. You muted again, Sandra.
I never let go. Okay, here. All right. You should only buy maple syrup in cans because if they're in jars, the light tends to degrade the syrup over time. So up in Montreal, we only buy it in cans.
Okay. A lot of these are in tinted jars. You can't see it at all.
If they make the bottles
The ones that we brought home.
slightly better. Yeah. Also, the flour, the King Arthur flour that I've been using for years that I love, it's a whole wheat white flour. So it's made from whole wheat, so you get all the healthy qualities of whole wheat, but it tastes just like white flour. It doesn't taste whole wheaty. So it's a wonderful product.
I went to look real quick. The company is now called King Arthur Baking. Where instead of being King Arthur Flour, it's now called King Arthur Baking.
Oh,
They've
thank you.
They've just adjusted their name in the last few months.
They have a fantastic catalog that they send out that you can order anything
Yes,
from.
they do.
Yeah,
they
they
do.
Okay.
I could tell you a little story. When we were up there, I decided I wanted to take a class for baking bread. So it was from 6 till 9 at night. So my husband went to, I think there's a Stonehenge area that he went to visit there, and I took that class. When you left the class, I had 3 loaves of bread that just came out of the oven. They put them in a great big brown paper bag. I got into the van, and as we started to drive back to Wolfsboro, it just smelled so good. My husband says, I gotta pull over and have a hank of that bread. I cannot stand it.
It's
See
wonderful.
them bears and that.
I just wanted to say, Burlington, Vermont, for example, is only about a little over 2 hours from our house.
Mhm.
And the rest of Vermont, they're
So
another
that's,
half hour.
that's how close Montreal is to Burlington.
You're all welcome anytime.
Great.
Well, only mistake I made when we went to Quebec City is I drove my pickup, and that is the narrowest alleys
town.
I've ever seen. I had to fold my mirrors in and have people guide me sort of like an airplane so I didn't hit bumpers on the buildings. It was so tight.
It's 400 years old.
The other thing you have to worry about, especially with a pickup, people have gotten into trouble they have a rifle in the back. And then you cross the border with this rifle that you don't remember is back there.
And you wind up in jail.
Yeah.
Wow. There was a question by Linda wondering if you visited any of the state parks in Vermont.
Yes, but not as extensively as I did in Utah, just maybe a couple of them.
Okay. All right. Any other little questions? Because I think we're going to move on. We have about 10 minutes left for the recipe.
All right.
Is everybody ready to move on? Okay, great. Let's, yeah, Billy and Lanee, thank you. Those pictures are wonderful, and I kind of want to go shopping in each one of those places. Yeah, so you made it very fun. Thank you. All right, so I will share my screen. And let's see. That's not right. Lon, what are you all looking at? Do you see the recipe?
There we go. Now we see.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, great. Okay, so this is Heath pecan chocolate chip cookies. And I started with the chocolate chip cookie recipe from the back of the package. But there are a number of issues if you're going to add the Heath. And these are not like, they are not chips, and you want to make sure you don't buy the chips. You want to make sure you buy the piece. They're called English toffee bits. So they're pieces and they get crushed, and so because it's all this sugar, some of it powdered, it needed to have the recipe adjusted. So these are the ingredients. Of course, the half roasted pecans and the Heath, and just the regular ingredients you're used to seeing for cookies. One thing that I do whenever there are pecans in a recipe, if it calls for a teaspoon of vanilla, I usually put half a teaspoon of almond and half a teaspoon of vanilla. And it seems to bring out the pecans. Again, none of what I did for this recipe is scientific in the least. It's all based on how it tasted, and then modifications were made. Here's the recipe, and I always double this recipe. It's kind of like there's no point in only making a regular size recipe. So, of course, you soften the butter and the sugars. So the sugars have been minimized, and here's the vanilla and the almond. And I found that you don't want to use the extra large eggs. You want to use medium to large. I just found it was a consistency thing. Let's see, so you can see the recipe. It's pretty straightforward except for the Heath. And I always add more pecans than it calls for. So here's mixing up the butter and the sugars. And then when you measure out your flour, you put the baking soda and the salt, of course, in the flour and mix it all up. And then so here you're adding, that's your sugar and butter. And I probably have the flour mixed in at this point. And you know, when I learned how to bake, my grandmother would say, if you're having like a banana nut bread or something, you always save a little bit of your flour to put on whatever's going to be lumpy. Like if it's blueberries or if it's pecans or chocolate chips, like in a cake type of thing, so that they don't sink to the bottom. You cover them in a little bit of the flour. And I don't know if you need to do it for cookies, but I just always do. So here's the Heath. And for the double the recipe, I actually use 3 bags of these. And I found that you want to mix them in after you've added your flour, the eggs and flour and everything. You want the mixer to do this part of it because you've got quite a big bowl of stuff by this point. And it gets all mixed in. And then I added the pecans and wanted to coat them in the flour with the chocolate chips. And so did you all get a good picture of this is what the Heath looks like? You can see it's like a little Heath bar that's been crushed, and you have big pieces and powder. So, but I like them better than they do have like butterscotch chips or Heath chips, and it's not the same. Okay, so.
Kathleen, you want to talk about the half roasted pecans?
Well, I always half roast the pecans. And I get the nuts from the nut store, the pecans from the nut store, and I just bring them home, and for the next, hour, I half roast the pecans and then I freeze them. But it releases the flavors, like the oils, but it keeps them so that when they get baked in their final use, they're still crunchy. Excuse me. If you totally roast them, then when you bite in, excuse me, they're very flavorful, but they don't have any crunch. And I think most recipes, you want the little crunch. Sorry about that. Okay, so I had 3 different size scoops that I really use these for cookies. I don't very often scoop ice cream. So I believe I started with the middle one, and I actually went down to the smaller to make them. And the thing that's different in the cooking these is that they get cooked for 9 minutes, and they will not look done, but you take them out anyway, and you leave them on the cookie sheet, and they keep cooking for another 2 minutes. And then you move them to the cooling rack. And I think that's the last picture. So they are our family favorite. In fact, I made these. Our kids and their spouses and friends actually went down to a river for a long weekend. And I just had to send, the cookies always went on our family trip. So they were gone very quickly. So does anyone have a question?
Yeah, will you put that on the blog, the recipe on the blog?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
Every recipe is on the blog, Esther. So everything you've ever seen here is on the blog.
So we are catching up. Everyone is intended to go on the blog, but that's part of what Rachel's going to be doing, is that we started, cranking these out, and the blogs take a while to put together. So anyway, so yes, it will be on the blog. Any other questions? Let me stop share. Okay.
Serve with vanilla ice cream.
Oh, Yeah, they are really good with vanilla ice cream. And the batter freezes well. I make them into scoops and freeze them. And then after they're frozen, I put them, we have one of those little food shrink wrap things and vacuum seals it, and they'll last a year. And I can still get them out, and I put them in the oven. I let them thaw a tiny bit, but not much, and they're fine. They come out a little darker than they did originally, but they're fine. Oh, sorry, oven temperature. I think it said 375. That'll be
Right.
on the recipe. I'll make sure I put it on the recipe if it's not there. What, I don't remember what the oven said.
It said 375.
Okay. All right. I'll make a note. Okay. Well, I think that brings us to 7 o'clock. Does anyone have anything they particular? Oh, let's see. How do you half roast pecans? Well, I put the oven on 400, and I have I think you'd call it a sheet cake pan. It has like an 1.5 inch edge all the way around, and it's, you know, like a cookie sheet, only it's deeper. And I just put them in there, maybe 2 layers thick, and then I scoop, you know, I stir them. I take them out, stir them, and put it back in. And I have to say, I keep meaning to time it, but it's by smell. It's like, so I don't put butter, I don't put salt, there's nothing. It's just the raw pecans. And you'll smell when the pecan oil starts to release. Like you don't want to leave the room. You want to stay there. So it's around 10 minutes, maybe. I mean, really, I end up spending an hour doing this. You would think I should pay attention, but I'm multitasking, and then I just smell them. And it's like you kind of know. So that's not very helpful. And the temperature is about 400. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Oh, best way to package them to mail them to college students. Boy, they made trips to college for sure. You know, probably putting them individually in little baggies, little plastic bags. Maybe you could put 2 together. But they end up being pretty good sized cookies. And they're crisp on the outside and chewy on the inside. And they kind of are more like a candy bar, truly, than it doesn't, you don't feel like you're eating a lot of cake or cookie, you know, not a lot of cookie, it's all stuff. So yeah, I think probably just putting them in little baggies would be good. And make sure the box doesn't, you know, you'd have to have it packed so they don't move much. So I hope somebody gets some at college. Have to let me know. Looks like there's another question. Oh, thank you, Pat and John. They thanked Billy and Lanee, said it was great, great. Okay, everyone. I don't know, again, what next week is going to be. So, but it'll be in the email. And, you know, actually, Rachel, if I get organized enough, maybe we could do a little Facebook post. Okay, let me ask this. How many of you all actually look at get Facebook posts from us or read them? Lanee, okay. Well, there are a few.
Did it or not? Oh.
So, Rachel, how would they get Facebook posts from us other than going on our website to see them?
The main thing typically is that if you have a Facebook account, whenever you log into your Facebook account, you will see if you're following Evergreen, for example, you will get notifications telling you when Evergreen posts new things. And it would also appear in your feed, that main page that you first get to when you log into Facebook. So that would probably be, you would actually need to log into Facebook. And I think, I'm not positive, but I think it's possible to get email notifications from Facebook. But I would have to look into that to see specifically how you could do it for Evergreen.
And actually, if everyone, if they go on our website or if you go on Facebook, you could like us. That would be great. I mean, that makes people, and I don't know how, but it makes other people come to the website. So that would be great. That's how they learn about us. So that's wonderful. Thank you all for joining.
Lanee, if you could stay on, or Billy and Lanee, if you could stay on for a minute, I have a question or two to ask you about your trip.
One quick thing, Dorothy. Yes, the Zoom meeting number and the password is staying the same for us. So, yeah, because I have it set up as a reoccurring meeting. And so, yes, I've noticed it is the same. So I don't know if that makes it easier for everybody to log in, or if you still just use the link that comes in the email. Okay, everyone, well, have a wonderful week. And if you weren't on when we first started, Beth Ann's talk from last week is in the video form, so you could just listen, or you can look at her, that has been made into the blog. And so you can scroll through it. So you can watch it either way, but she has some really just practical, common sense things to help you evaluate, you know, if it's time that you could pursue your favorite hobby, which we know is traveling. So you might want to go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, so I know that David wants to talk to Billy and Lanee about Ohio. And so if you want to hear about Ohio and the travel conditions and everything, you're welcome to stay on and listen. So.
Yeah, I'll share a little bit about that. Also, I was wondering, you went to Cold Holla, is that correct, in Vermont?
You're talking about the cider company?
Yeah, what is it called again?
It's
I think it's Cold Hollow. Let me look it up.
yeah, cider mill.
I was wondering if that's how they pronounced it, because if you were in southern Ohio, it would be Cold Holla.
Oh,
So
Cold Hollow Cider Mill.
Yeah, but I mean, you may be right. I mean, I
was just wondering how they pronounced it.
Also in Ohio, they pronounce it Ohio. They don't even pronounce it. It's Ohio. Yeah.
Exactly right. It's with an A, not an O.
Ohio.
Ohio. If
All
you're
right.
in southern Ohio, it's more Ohio and Holla. You're up if you go up a Holla, you better be careful, because someone might shoot at you. They think that you're coming for their moonshine.
Oh.
So,
Well, I totally understand where you're coming from, because we got a lot of Texas towns I have a hard time pronouncing, because you know, the first time I went to Burnett, which is not Burnett, it's Burnett, I was corrected by the locals in a hurry. And
Well, in Ohio, there's a town spelled Berlin. How would you pronounce it?
Berlin.
Berlin.
No, it's Berlin.
Berlin.
In Wisconsin, they have the same town. They still call it Berlin also.
Berlin.
And she said it used to be called Berlin until World War II, and then they changed it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, good to know.
that's right.
Yeah. Now, Lanee and Billy, where are you located at this time?
We're in the Poconos and northeast Pennsylvania.
And where exactly in the Poconos?
East Stroudsburg.
Beautiful.
Like that area.
We love East
Beautiful.
Stroudsburg. They have university in East Stroudsburg. They have University of Pennsylvania at East Stroudsburg, I believe.
Okay.
And so you can go to that university. Are you going up the Delaware Gap?
Not plans to. Our daughter and her family have not been here, so we're going to Lancaster and that area on Tuesday. Tomorrow we're going in to do a day trip to Philadelphia. And
Okay.
probably Wednesday we'll probably go to Jim Thorpe.
Oh, those
Yeah,
are all great
really
areas.
Fun area.
Now, I recommend you might check on your way down south. There's a small town called Wind Gap. And if you like bluegrass music, they have a bluegrass club in Wind Gap.
Pennsylvania.
And we went to East Stroudsburg. We've been there a couple times for a week or two at a time. And we went down to Wind Gap. Those people were awesome. We went to one of their, what they call their shindigs. They have a campground in Wind Gap. And they are usually at their campground until October. And they will have outdoor bluegrass music. And in October, they will go to the local township volunteer fire department, and they will have their bluegrass music in their meeting hall there. And the fire department provides the refreshments. And how long will you be at East Stroudsburg?
We will leave on Friday morning. We're gonna, there's not much open in DC, so the boys are 5 and 8, so we're just gonna kind of see the monuments a little bit and then go down to Williamsburg, and we'll take them to Colonial Williamsburg and out to Jamestown.
Yeah.
And then next month, a week from Monday, we'll go down to Atlantic Beach, North Carolina, and we probably won't do we'll be there till Saturday and won't probably do much.
Well, interestingly, we did the same trip a couple years ago.
Okay.
We actually spent about 2 weeks in the Poconos at East Stroudsburg, and then we went down through Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and down to Williamsburg and spent a week there.
We did a day trip into New York.
And we did a day trip from there over to New York City, just from where you are.
Yeah.
You can get over to
The train station in Pennsylvania.
yes, in New Jersey.
No, in New Jersey. And I think it's the last train station in New Jersey, and take it across to Manhattan.
Yeah, take a train
Talked
across
about
to
doing that
Manhattan.
and taking the boys.
Yeah, but that's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
We'll look it up.
Well, do you remember what the town was in New Jersey?
I will try and get back with you with that information. We probably have it, but not at our fingertips. But we actually made it just a day trip. We left early in the morning, when it takes you just over an hour to get to the train station, and then just took a train from where we parked the car over to Central Station. And when you walk out of Central Station, you're right next to the
Everything.
42nd Street, yeah.
to the sporting arena where the
Yes, yeah, we've come in there before.
where the Knicks play.
Yes.
Station.
And you're not far from the theater district. As a matter of fact, we walked all the way to Central Park and all the way to, I wanted to see the Guggenheim Museum.
Okay.
That was one of our goals too. And so we went to the Guggenheim Museum and went through that. Also, you can go down to the Battery and take, Staten Island Ferry is a free ferry.
Yes.
And we love to do that at sunset. That is just so awesome a trip.
Yeah.
We just took Staten Island Ferry across, and I think we had to get back off and then get back on.
Yes.
And then come back. And you go right past the Statue of Liberty.
Yes.
You get wonderful pictures of the
Statue of Liberty.
We took our oldest daughter last year and did the actual tour, but the boys aren't old enough to do that. And we had talked about if we went there, we would do the Staten Island Ferry and just go across and come back and kind of give them a taste.
Yes.
It's a great trip.
It is a great trip. It's about a 35-minute trip across, I would say. But we zoomed off, went into the station, made, as soon as everybody gets off the boat, then they open it up for people to get on. So we got off in time to get in the group to get back on. So, so we didn't have to spend any time over on Staten Island. We just wanted to get back on the ferry.
Right.
I want to encourage you for a couple things. While you're in the Poconos in East Stroudsburg, do go over to, I think there's a small community called Portland. It's only a short distance from where you're staying. There's a great place to stop and get apple pie. And you will not be able to miss it, really. It's a bakery. You can get fresh breads. They have all sorts of baked goods and so on. And it's on your way to Portland. It's just as you get into New Jersey.
Where's the place you stop and walk across the bridge?
That's at Portland too. At Portland, they have a bridge across the Delaware River. And right in the middle of the bridge, it's a walking bridge, not a driving bridge, but they have a line painted on the walking bridge showing you when you're leaving Pennsylvania and when you're going to be stepping over into New Jersey. So you can stand with 1 foot in Pennsylvania and 1 foot in New Jersey. So it's kind of a fun picture to have you split between two states.
The little boys might like that. The kids might like that.
Yes. And,
I like that. I like that.
And then there's some livery stables if you want to rent a canoe to canoe on the river. And so that's really neat as well.
There's a theater in Shawnee on Delaware, which isn't far from where you are.
You might be in Shawnee on Delaware. Where are you staying in East Stroudsburg?
I'm looking to see what it says. What is this thing called? We're looking to see what the name of this resort is. This is really
It's
bad.
like Pocono or something, but
Is it a timeshare?
It is a timeshare. Yeah, the villas at Treetops and Fairway.
Okay, we've stayed there. That's a little bit
farther away.
Up the river, up the road from East Stroudsburg, probably about 15 minutes.
Okay.
About a 15-minute drive north. But if you go back down, there's an area called Shawnee, and they have an old schoolhouse that they've turned into a theater. And so you can see what is going on at that theater. Sometimes they have plays. And now I think they're presenting, because of the COVID issue, they're putting on some things outside, like concerts and so on.
Concerts on the grass out in front.
We still get emails from them. And then there's a resort called Shawnee, and there's at the resort they have a craft brewery, and so you can go and try their craft.
There's a golf course there too, if you're
very nice golf course. And they sometimes, usually once a week, I think it's on a Tuesday, they will have free concerts in the late afternoon, early evening.
And we do free really well.
Yeah, we do free really well. And they also have, I think, tours that they will give you of the old resort there. And that's kind of just interesting to see that old resort.
It's been there. Clubhouse, and they sometimes, well, this was last year or the year before, they'll have music in the evening. I have no idea whether those things are going on. I think those resorts are open, but limited amount of extracurricular things are going on.
Now, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these aren't going on, because they still are open for tourists to come. So they need to entertain those people that are coming to their locations. So, as you go from East Strasburg over into Pennsylvania, stay off the freeway, but take a residential road, because there's a visitor center, a very, very good visitor center for Pennsylvania. But they'll have information for Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, and it's excellent. So I really heavily recommend that you stop at that visitor center.
It's kind of couched in between the freeways where they cross.
Right, it's right at an exit of the freeway. But I highly recommend that you try and stop there as well. I'll mention one or two other things. You mentioned about Jim Thorpe. We've been to Jim Thorpe. That's a very interesting town to go visit. I will try to take a look.
You said you like to talk to people. Talk to the locals. They're fun. There's a opera house or some sort of a building. What was that building there? Was it an opera house?
Or an old theater.
Oh, an old theater. And they'll give you, did we get some of the theaters, the people won't show you when there's not a presentation going on. But some of them you can maybe talk someone into showing you the ceiling or whatever. Yeah. So you just have to play that one by ear. But the locals we had a good time at Jim Thorpe. We happened to be there during one of the festivals, which probably isn't going on this year. Yeah. But
we were there the exact same time you are.
Yeah.
We were there the end of September. And since we were going all the way from California, we spent 2 weeks there, and we found that the 2 weeks went fast. We really enjoyed it. I'm going to heavily recommend, there's a drive from where you are north, and you go up to a little bit beyond. I need to look at the map if I can talk to you tomorrow. There's a beautiful drive right along
the river.
River. There's a state park you can stop at that was really interesting. They have a nice visitor center there, and the drive along there, some of it, the drive is you're really high above the river, and the road is reinforced because there's a rock wall.
I think this is what she told us.
Yeah, the rock wall. We would stop, we would drive up there just to go along that section of the river and take pictures, and it's just a beautiful drive. It's something that you should not miss. You could spend a good half day. Also, there's a house up there that you should go visit. We went there. It's not a free home to visit, but it's well worth it. It's one of the old stately homes right along there as well. And it's well worth it stopping to see and to go through. And these things are just off the top of my head, but I'll be glad to look up some of them specifically.
Okay. Last time we were there, we took a day trip over to Falling Waters, which is Frank Lloyd Wright.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
that's quite a ways from East.
Yeah, it's on the other side of the state.
That's on the other side of the state.
Okay.
Well, I was going to ask you from where you are, you'll be going south. Have you already gone through Ohio then?
Yes, yes.
Okay, we're from Ohio originally,
Okay.
and so we're going to mention some things that you might want to see and
What
do.
part of the state did you see when you went through?
We just did Lancaster, Ohio. Our daughter was there, and they were moving out of an RV into a cottage there at the Lancaster campground. It's an old 100-year-old plus campground, and they bought a cottage there. And then they're following us now.
Okay, so was this in Ohio?
It was in Lancaster, Ohio.
Lancaster Campground. Those used to be, they were like a 99-year lease. So you didn't buy the land because my family had.
Yeah, they leased the land. They leased the land for 99 years.
Right.
Yeah, right.
My wife's family had one.
We went to the MYF youth camp every summer. I think it's an MYF. I think it's a Methodist.
Yes, it used to. Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave and Ann, I thank y'all very much. I think Kathleen's needing to shut us off, but it's great to visit with you.
Yeah, if you can send us this information, that would be great. I'd love to know that little town in New Jersey. And well, I'm going to ask one question. Is Portland in Pennsylvania?
It is still in Pennsylvania,
Okay.
but that's where that walkway is, and you can take the walkway across. They have a small chocolate factory or business there, and this man is he is an expert in making chocolate. Put it this way: I think he had his business in New York and wanted to get out of New York, and he picked this small community of Portland, and so it's really kind of neat. How can we get a hold of you if we can tomorrow?
Through our email. Would they be, or let me give you my cell phone number.
Okay.
325 650 6626.
My wife's trying to put it very quickly in her phone, but I'm going to write it down. 325
650
650
6626.
6626. Okay, as we think of some things that are interesting to do.
Lanee?
Yes. Now we're going into Philadelphia tomorrow, but if I miss your phone call, I'll give you a call back tomorrow evening.
When you go down to Philadelphia, have you been there before?
Yes.
Okay. Then right around the corner from Philadelphia is a restaurant tavern that many of the founding fathers would go to sit and eat, have a glass of wine, discuss their ideas for the new country. And
City Tavern?
I think it's called City Tavern.
Okay.
And you can sit in some of the rooms that Washington sat in and so on. Cool. And they even have a sampler that you can order.
A beer sampler.
A beer sampler where they'll say, this was Washington's favorite one. This one was Hamilton's favorite one, thank you, and so on. And so you can get a sampler of about 4 different ones, where supposedly 4 different founding fathers, major ones. This was Franklin's and so on. And so we actually went down there.
That's cool.
And went to, of course, Independence Hall and so on. But we also had lunch at Citizens Tavern and
City Tavern.
Or City Tavern rather, and
I think that's what it is.
and enjoyed a lunch there and so on. So I'd really recommend that. Yes.
No, I was just thanking Kathleen. Thank you very much, Kathleen.
You're welcome. Thank you for doing the presentation.
I'm down to one. I only got Colorado left, so I'm gonna have to get busy and put
You
another one
are.
Well, I was going to talk to Kathleen also, maybe after we were finished. So,
All right, I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
leave.
Okay, we'll see you later.
Billy, and are you going back through Ohio on the way home, or
No.
probably not? No.
It's
Okay.
North Carolina.
By the way, did you say, Lanee, that your daughter bought a place in
Yes.
Lancaster?
Yes. So we'll be back up there, but it won't be this
Here
year.
again, check out the Hocking Hills.
We went.
You
know
wouldn't-
that, Greg?
Yes, we did. Grandfather's cave.
See you later.
Okay, bye. See you guys.
Bye now.
And David and Ann, Jack and I are gonna have some dinner.
Oh, no,
and
not
then,
a chance.
What did she say?
They were going to have some dinner. What are you going to eat?
I don't know yet. But I'm gonna actually, I think I'm actually gonna make some little tiny pizzas on naan bread with the little round mozzarella cheese and some basil and some Italian sausage.
That sounds like a presentation.
Well, and then we put it's dark in color. Balsamic glaze over the top of it with more fresh basil. So that's
Take pictures. Take pictures.
You know, you're right. I should do that.
Yeah.
I should do that
You
because it
know,
also has fresh tomatoes on it.
I'm going to whisper to you. My wife made homemade strawberry jelly last night.
She take
And
pictures.
it is some of the best jelly you'll ever taste.
Did she take pictures along the way?
No, she started this about probably 8 o'clock last night. We had our time. We had just been to the store. We just got these strawberries, and I've been bugging her to say, make the strawberry jelly again, make the strawberry jelly again. Well, she surprised me saying, okay, I'm going to make it tonight. Really? All of a sudden. And so I had French toast this morning.
Ooh.
With homemade strawberry jelly on top.
Oh, wonderful.
And it was awesome. So I'm whispering this so she doesn't hear. But if you happen to talk with her, I'm saying it now loud enough so that she can hear, she should really share what she did. Because frankly, I think it was pretty simple. And yet it really came out great. But I was going to say this. When you made the presentation on going to the state park in Texas,
yes,
I think you had some pictures of came from some brochures, or maybe from some
website
sites that you were able to go on. Would that be correct?
Jack made that up. He actually, those pictures, he originally made that up over 10 years ago.
But was it based upon all pictures that he took, or were some pictures of some brochures that he had?
I don't know that he has the brochures still.
No, that's okay. What I'm wondering is, it appeared to me that maybe some of the pictures were pictures he showed that he took of brochures, not just pictures that he took, period.
Oh, well, not all the pictures were ones he took.
Right.
So he got them offline, most likely.
Or offline. What I was going to say is, my wife and I could maybe, if we worked with you, we went online to find out about things in Ohio, like the Hocking Hills. Where did you see Lanee's reaction when she said, "Oh, we went there"?
Yeah.
The Hocking Hills is a state park, and it has some of the most beautiful natural scenery you'll ever see in your life. They have what they call Old Man's Cave, and they have Cedar Falls, and they have Ash Cave, and so on. And it has some lore to it as well. Now, we've taken some pictures, but they won't be anything near what Billy has or what we found on websites. So we were thinking if we worked with you and you selected some pictures, or we could tell you some pictures we selected that actually were excellent pictures that we've seen on the state park system of the Hocking Hills, then we could narrate it like you did one time.
Right. You know, I know that we need to be careful that they're not pictures
that are copyrighted.
Yes.
Okay.
And so
that would be something that I think we could check, but I think that the state park system would be overjoyed if we selected some of their pictures to show, because that's what they do, is they put these pictures out to attract people to come. So
right.
it's something that we could check. Why don't you go eat and we can talk during the week? And, you know, this would take us, I would say we could do it sometime in October, not right away.
Okay.
But I heard you say you don't know what's going to be taking place next Sunday.
Right.
Well, next Sunday happens to be our older son's birthday. So we surely couldn't do it next week, but we could do it sometime in October, and we could select some sites of Ohio, so to speak.
Sure.
The Hocking Hills being one of them. Another thing that they could have visited would have been, there's a beautiful Central Ohio collection of Amish country. And just like they're going to Lancaster, not Lancaster, it's Lancaster in Pennsylvania.
It's Lancaster. In Ohio, it's Lancaster.
And so we could mention some of the places that they might want to go and visit.
Okay.
If they want to visit the Amish area of Ohio.
Sure.
Of course, Ohio has also the Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, and they have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio. And of course, we've been to both of those. I didn't even know that the day to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame really is Wednesday. And the first time I went, I didn't realize it. It's open from 9 to 5 every day except Wednesday. Wednesday, they're open till 9 o'clock at night.
Oh.
And had I known that the first time, that's when I would have gone, because we went on a day when it was raining in Ohio, and we would really have wanted to just stay in there till 9 o'clock at night. And so we've been there 3 times now. We usually go back in the fall, and the second time, guess what? We went on Wednesday, and it was raining. And we were so glad that we planned to go there on a Wednesday, because we did stay until 9 o'clock at night.
Wow, that's
and
great.
we got our money's worth. I think we didn't get there till maybe about noon, but we knew we could spend 8 hours, and it's easy to spend 8 hours in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame if you like music and you like especially old classic rock and roll. But the third time we went, we found out that on Fridays, on occasional Fridays, and you need to check, they will have a rock and roll group that will come, and they'll do an hour's interview with a person that is known in rock and roll.
Really?
And we found out that they were going to have the Isley Brothers while we were going to be in Cleveland.
Wow.
So we planned, well, we were in Ohio. We planned to drive up and go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. When they do this, it's oftentimes Fridays from noon to 1, just an hour's time period. That was so fascinating, where they had a radio station DJ that really knew rock and roll, and talked to them about the Isley Brothers. And that was such a pleasant experience.
Wow.
And then we spent the rest of the day until 5 since it's on Friday only until 5. But after 1 o'clock, we still have 4 more hours to see as much as we could of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Well, think on it, and we can talk this week if you want, but that's why I called you. I was saying, well, you know, we could select some areas where if they went over to Dayton, Dayton has the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and they have a air museum that is phenomenal.
Okay.
And it's free. And they actually have some Air Force One airplanes that different presidents have used, and now they're housed at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And you can actually go over and visit some of the Air Force Ones that maybe Reagan had or Carter had and so on. So we can talk about some things that people could see if they went to
I would love that. I think that's a great idea.
Okay, well, let's talk further this week, and maybe we can plan for some time in October.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks so much. Talk to you.
Thank you. Bye now. Is this 60 minutes?